Listen, let me tell you something about this Knicks team. They have the identity. They have the physicality.
We could wake up and the Knicks could be in the conference finals. That's a thing that can happen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's Season 2, Episode number 9 of Empire State Hoops. I'm Adam Rothschild, and alongside me, that is Matt Vargo. And today we have a special guest joining us today, Gordon Huntley, a New York Knicks fan as well, here on the campus of Susquehanna University. Gordon, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So having another guest on today as well, it's always fun with that. But meanwhile, for the New York Knicks, we continue on the roll. The season is inching closer to the finish line. 82 is on the horizon this coming Sunday for the Knicks, and they've had a gauntlet of a schedule to try to finish the year.
That's right.
Back and forth is what it's been. Matt, what do you think it's going to take for the playoffs coming right around the corner? What is it going to take to finish the season strong?
Well, first off, got to get healthy, and they're getting in that direction. Anunoby's back in the lineup. Now, because Cleveland has completely fallen apart and Orlando's slowing down, they're now the 3 seed, which is great. You'd like to have the 2 seed, but maybe you don't want the 2 seed because it looks like Philly's going to be locked into 7. And no disrespect to the Pacers, but I think you guys would both agree, much rather play the Pacers in round 1 than the Sixers. But right now, I mean, they've kind of weathered the storm. They beat Milwaukee. They beat Sacramento in a big comeback. The Bulls loss kind of stunk, but got them back. On Tuesday night, they play, at the time of recording, Boston today. That's really the only challenge left on the schedule, in my opinion. So, I mean, hey, they're going to finish with, if they win out, 50 wins, which might be, did they finish with 50 wins last year? I don't think they did.
47 last year, I believe.
Be the first 50-win season in a good while. So, great season all around, and we'll see who's awaiting them in the playoffs. Most likely the Pacers, but we'll see what can happen.
Gordon, I know you have a lot to add about this, so what do you think on your end? Because with this 3-game stretch they got left in Boston tonight, we know that Jason Tatum is really going to be the only outlier out there for Boston with a lot of the players injured or rested, including Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis. So what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So I think tonight isn't quite must-win just yet. I think, like you said, everyone being so even in the East, it definitely amplifies these next 3 games. But if they lose tonight, it's not the end of the world. If they can get a win, if they can win out the rest of the season, that'd be great. Lock up that 3 seed. The Pacers, the only thing that scares me is the history that those 2 teams have had with the Reggie Miller doing the choke. Other than that, it doesn't really matter to me who we play in the first round. I think that with this team, if we had Randall, I would be a lot more confident, but I think that with the team, with the way everyone's playing, I think that we can really give anyone a real series in the playoffs, like at any point I'm not worried about anyone really.
Yeah, I just think when the announcement came out with Julius Randle being, done for the season and getting season-ending shoulder surgery, which he just had, and it was completely successful. So he's going to make a full recovery to try to come back at some point next season. But looking at the outside of things, with some games that they had this past week that Matt, me and you talked about with Sacramento and Miami. Of course, Miami was a tough loss. They really just couldn't get anything going in that game. But when it came to Sacramento, they were down 21 at one point in this game, and they found a way to come back. It wasn't easy, but Jalen Brunson was the big part of that.
He definitely was. Also, shout out to Josh Hart giving you 31, DiVincenzo 21, Bogdanovich had 12 off the bench. And, I mean, this was a Kings team. They're pretty injured right now. Kevin Huerter done for the year. Malik Monk, who's probably going to win 6th Man of the Year, also done for the season. But the Kings, despite that, came out hungry. But eventually, law of averages set in. They just don't have the firepower that they once did with those guys out. And obviously, in front of the home crowd at MSG, able to come back and much needed win because, again, how tight the standings are. You can't afford to drop games against teams you're supposed to beat.
Gordon, what did you think about this game?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, going quickly back to the Randall thing, my uncle, the day before he got ruled out, back when it was like kind of up in the air if he was going to come back or not at any point, my uncle said, do you really want him to come back with Randall's playoff history? I'm a big Randall fan. I'm probably one of the biggest Randall fans you'll ever see. When everyone's saying trade him, I'm like, no, like his value's low. Like, at the end of the season, whatever happens. He'll average 25 and 9. You're not going to get equal value to that. But just the way this team's playing, like you said, they can't drop games that they're supposed to win. That Kings game was really a game where I was worried at the point because I was like, oh, geez, like they can't lose this game because then looking like the Bulls coming up a couple times, they would have to win all those games. The Bucks coming up, they would like have to win that game, which they ended up doing, which was great. Celtics coming up, they'd probably have to win that game too. So beating the Kings, that really took a lot of pressure off this team, and I feel like allowed them to play a lot more free basketball the next couple weeks.
Yeah, well, Chicago so far ended up being a split going off of the Sacramento game with losing the first game at Chicago and Josh Hart getting ejected. There was kind of a little bit of frustration in there as well. So it was in the middle of this weird road trip where it was from Chicago to Milwaukee and then back to Chicago again before going on the road to Boston. So, Matt, what do you think was the turnaround for this team after losing in Chicago when they got OG Anunoby back in the lineup, going up against Giannis, Dame, and the Bucks? They had to find a way to do it coming off of that tough loss in Chicago.
Yeah, that Milwaukee game was a lot. Well, I'd say it was the biggest surprise for me of the whole stretch thus far, mainly because, and in all honesty, it probably shouldn't have been, because Milwaukee is just a team that I just don't get this team at all. You look at Dame and Giannis, Chris Middleton, I know he's older, and Brook Lopez. It just seems like this team should have clicked by now. I mean, I know they had the coaching change and whatnot, and say what you want about Doc Rivers, he has not found a way to get this group to gel. And the Knicks able to take advantage of this really disoriented team. And again, Brunson, 43, 8, and 6, completely took over. Dante DiVincenzo also giving you 26. So the backcourt of the Knicks really outdid the Bucks backcourt. Malik Beasley only held to 9 points. Dame had 23, but it came on shooting. But also with the injuries to the front court, also surprised that they were able to slow down Giannis as much as they did. I mean, Giannis had 28, 15, and 8, but it felt very unimpactful in a way because the Knicks, really for the second half of that game, just really dominated, and the Bucks never really got that close. And I'll finish off with the Bucks. How do you do this, and then you turn around and go to TD Garden against Boston and beat them? I think it was only by 13, but they were up by like 30 at one point in that game. Like, the Bucks, I don't get this team, but props to the Knicks for getting the win on the road.
Gordon, what do you think about Milwaukee? Just because there's all these question marks around them right now, it's been like up and down the whole season, and the Knicks found a way to go in there and get this win. What do you think with Milwaukee and all these struggles they've had?
I mean, I feel like right now, after watching the last game the Knicks played, I think that it's hard to say that the Knicks aren't the better out of the two teams, given the uncertainty with Giannis, given the way they've been playing, given the way that in the second half, I believe they outscored them. It was like 72-48. In the second half. Like, that's when you win basketball games. Like, if you get outscored by almost 30 points in the second half, you're not going to win very many games. And then I just think that, like you said, the performances from Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, I feel like has been that sharpshooter that the Knicks have been missing over the years, because like RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, so many guys would have like open looks on the outside, and I would watch them shoot it, and I'd be like, oh, like, please, like saying a prayer, like, please go in, please go in. When DiVincenzo shoots, I'm standing up holding 3 fingers up in the air, because he's been automatic. And then also looking at it, Hartenstein, like, what's his season high? Because he had 18 in this game, and that's like more than a Knicks center like ever scores. Like, last year there was the whole Mitchell Robinson issue where it's coming up about like, oh, like I want to be more involved in the offense. I want to be more involved in the offense. The Knicks never really would get their centers involved, but Hartenstein scoring 18, I believe, was definitely a big part, just because that adds that another layer to the offense that the Knicks usually don't really incorporate as much.
Yeah, and the funny thing, that was great you brought up Isaiah Hartenstein, actually, because before he came to the Knicks, he didn't really have like a pivotal role with a team, because he was drafted by Houston, didn't really get a lot of minutes, went to the Clippers and was one of those centers off the bench behind Zubats, and really wasn't sure what kind of scenario he was stuck in. And then he comes over to New York in this 2-year deal, which he's going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason. And I think it was really important for him to get into a good spot, and he actually got into a great situation to be a good center in a solid spot. And I think it was really important for him, and obviously the way he's been playing with Mitchell Robinson being out and up and down, in and out of the lineup. So it's good to have Robinson back, but of course Hartenstein filling in the load. So it's been really important for that as well. So we'll talk about more of these games after our short break here, as the Knicks are inching closer to the end of the season, and they've also clinched at least the 3rd seed, or at least anywhere within the top 6 for the NBA playoffs, which will start on April 20th. We'll be right back after this short break here on Season 2, Episode 9 of Empire State Hoops. Hey there, basketball fans. Are you ready to take your love for the game to a whole new level? Well, listen up. We've got something that will make your hoop dreams come true. Introducing Sport Pros USA,
the ultimate destination for all your backyard sport court needs. Whether you're a diehard Knicks fan or just looking for some slam dunk fun with your family, Sport Pros USA has got you covered. Picture this, it's a sunny afternoon in New York, and you step out onto your very own custom-built backyard basketball court. The court where legends are born and memories are made. A court where you can unleash your inner baller and shoot hoops like your favorite Knicks players. But it's not just about basketball. It's about family, friends, and fun. Whether you're hosting a game of horse with your buddies or teaching your kids how to dribble and shoot, Sport Pros USA brings the magic of the game right to your doorstep. Our courts are more than just a place to play. They're a place to connect, bond, and create unforgettable moments. And with Sport Pros USA, you can have it all, right in your own backyard. We're not just building courts, we're building dreams. Dreams of buzzer beaters, comebacks, and endless laughter. So why wait? Give us a call at 877-HOOPS-NJ or visit sportprosusa.com today to start designing your very own backyard basketball court. Remember, at Sport Pros USA, we believe that every home deserves a court, and every family deserves the joy of playing together. So don't just watch the game, be a part of it.
And we are back here once again, Season 2, Episode 9 of Empire State Hoops. I'm Adam Rothschild. Alongside me, that is Matt Vargo, and our special guest today, Gordon Huntley, joining us here on the campus of Susquehanna University. And we're now going to get down to the final 3 games of the regular season for the Knicks. One of them being tonight in Boston. Like we sort of got into it before, but this is most likely the last major test before the playoffs, going against arguably the best team in the NBA, currently sitting at 62 wins. Matt, going into Boston. We talked about it first on opening night on our very first episode of this podcast back in October.
That's right.
What is it going to take? They got to do it again.
Well, if everything I'm hearing is true and that Boston is resting a lot of their guys, they really got to win this game, even though it's in Boston. There's no way to go. There's no way around it. At some point, consistency has to be acknowledged and applauded, and the Celtics have been that. Their guys have been healthy. They've played. The chemistry has clicked. The only team that's going to get 60 wins this season. And how about in that record at home, 35-3 in Boston, which near impossible to beat them in their building. I believe Denver did it once. That's the only one that I can remember off the top of my head. Oh, and obviously Milwaukee most recently. But I think more than anything, the Celtics, they're just waiting for the postseason, got the 1 seed locked up, want to make sure nobody gets hurt in really a meaningless game for them. So for the Knicks, you got to go in, take care of your business, let Brunson continue to cook, and stay ahead of Cleveland, because Cleveland's not too far behind. I believe they play the Pacers tomorrow, actually, at the time we're recording this. So got to make sure you stave them off and get a higher seed and avoid a potential round 2 with Boston.
Gordon, what do you think it's going to take to go in there in Boston and try to find a way to get a win? It's as me and Matt were just saying, it's going to be a tall task, but how do they do it?
Have we beaten the Celtics yet this year?
I don't think so.
I just checked. It wouldn't come up on the NBA website, but like some other website just said the Celtics are 4-0 against us this year.
3-0 actually.
3-0. All right.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely you got to go in with confidence. Like we said, they're not. Hopefully, they're not playing. Or I guess not. Hopefully, but maybe they're not playing those guys. But definitely, you just got to go in with confidence. Like you said, they've lost 3 games at home. The Knicks have to go in with the mentality saying we are the better team. Like these past games are in the past. We got to go in. We got to show them who we are today. Because if we do end up going on a playoff run, we're most likely going to have to go through TD Garden to try and get to the NBA Finals, which ultimately for this Knicks team, the way they've been playing, I think should be their ultimate goal this year.
I think especially after losing to Miami in the second round last year, that's the thing they've been thinking about since they lost in that Game 6. And it was really just in that game, of course, because nobody showed up besides Jalen Brunson in that game, and they couldn't get offense going because Miami's defense was stellar, of course. But going into Boston, trying to win against the best team in the NBA, it's one last chance to make a statement against the team that's beaten you 3 times this year already, and just try to make something happen. That's what you got to do. And now looking at these final 2 games, one of them is going to be against Chicago, which we'll talk about before we close it out. But going up against Brooklyn, they've beaten Brooklyn several times this year. They had the game in January when they were on that excellent run. They had the insane fast break from Brunson to Randall on the transition. They had the game a couple weeks ago when they played Brooklyn at the Garden, and me and Matt were talking about that meme with Squidward where Mikal Bridges is just looking in at the Nova boys.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to take care of business. What do they need to do, Matt?
Just not get too far ahead of themselves. Brooklyn has absolutely nothing to play for. They can't get into the play-in. 32-48. They don't have a pick in this year's draft. Does anybody remember when Max Kellerman said back in 2018 or 19, I believe it was, that Brooklyn now should own New York because they got KD and Kyrie? Yeah, that didn't last very long, and just gotta not choke more than anything. But yeah, these Nets, they're down bad. Knicks should blow them out. I think that they've beaten them every time this year. I think they're 3-0. So make it 4-0 more so than anything.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. And I think with these last two games, another goal too could possibly be to rest your starters if you beat Boston, and that's the case. But if you're going for 50 wins, you got to play the guys you want to play. But Gordon, what do you think it's going to take for going up against Brooklyn?
I mean, I think Matt said it. You can't look too far ahead. You can't look into the playoffs. You got to look at the schedule. You got to see the Nets on the schedule. And yeah, they have nothing to play for. Yeah, they don't have KD, Kyrie, Harden. I guess, do they have Ben Simmons right now? Is he going to play, or is he still
No.
Done for the year.
He's done.
I forgot about that.
He played 15 games this year.
Yeah, no. So they don't have the star power. I mean, Mikal Bridges, I hope that one day he does become a Knick, because right now we've almost got that whole Villanova team, and I just feel like that'd be something that's really awesome to see. But nah, don't look too far ahead. Just play the game that's in front of you. And then I believe, looking at it, the Knicks would have to win out, and the Bucks would have to lose their next two if we want the 2 seed. So if that's the goal, if we do want to be able to have home court against the Bucks, if it does come down to that, then we would have to win these next couple games, and that does, I guess, amplify the importance. But I guess just the main thing, don't even look at that. Look at the Nets. Look at you on paper. You're a better team than the Nets. You should beat the Nets.
And also, before you respond, there is a chance that can happen. Milwaukee losing their last two.
It's OKC and Orlando, right? The
Yep.
next two.
Yeah, and there's no Giannis, and we'll see if Dame can carry the squad with Giannis out. But, I mean, OKC is still gunning for the 1 seed, so they have something to play for. The Magic have a chance to get home court in the first round. So, again, these are two teams that really, these are two big games for the Bucks, and without Giannis, we'll see what happens. But like Gordon said, the 2 seed's not out of the possibility here.
Yeah, anything can happen here. I mean, this is an incredible situation with how close the chase for the 1 seed in the West has been, and the East with the top 6. It's been insane how close everything has been this year. But now with the final game of the season being on Sunday, ESPN, 1 p.m., the third game in about, I want to say, almost a week against Chicago. And, I mean, it's pretty simple. Chicago's already locked up. They're going to be in the play-in tournament. Mm-hmm. So try to take care of business again. Do what you did earlier this week against Chicago. Try to bounce back, finish the season strong, and get some rest before the playoffs start. Matt, what do you think?
Can we just contract the Chicago Bulls, please? Because this team you might as well call the Bulls in the play-in like the Chicago Invitational or something. It seems like every single year the play-in has been a thing post bubble season. The Bulls are there in the play-in, I think. But I don't know. I just can't take this Bulls team seriously anymore. They lost Levine early in the year. They are just mired in mediocrity. They really have no direction anymore. And for the Knicks, just once again, as long as nobody gets ejected, they should be fine, in my opinion.
Gordon, what do you think? How do we finish the season strong, close it out in Chicago against Chicago on Sunday at home? What do they got to do?
It was Josh Hart that got ejected, right?
Yeah. That was the first time.
Josh Hart don't get ejected. I mean, I guess same thing as the Nets. We're a better team than this Bulls team. We're more talented than this Bulls team. I hope that not just this game, but the next couple games coming up, Tom Thibodeau kind of does. I know we've been saying don't look ahead. Tom Thibodeau does look ahead and say, all right, we got playoffs coming up. Let's get our guys 30-minute or 35-minute restriction. Don't play freaking Jalen Brunson any more than that. Josh Hart, I know he always plays over 40 minutes. Don't do that. OG Anunoby coming back from what he's coming. I hope that with these next couple games, we are ahead by enough so that we can get guys like Deuce McBride more meaningful minutes. We can get guys like Bogdanovich more meaningful minutes just to kind of get them in the zone for the playoffs, because guys like Jalen Brunson, you know, he's going to show up. DiVincenzo's going to show up. Josh Hart's going to show up. OG's going to show up. Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, they're going to show up for the playoffs. Let's get these other guys some more impactful minutes in games that we might be in at the end. Get these guys in, let them get in the flow of the game, see what happens from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's 100% going to be the case in this situation because you got to have all the guys you want in the right spot at the right time. I say this to Matt every time we do a broadcast here on campus. You always got to have the right guys in the right spot at the right time, especially with the lacrosse games we've done. So it's the same thing with the Knicks here. Just you got to be mentally focused, and like we said, getting guys rest would be important. Getting McBride some minutes and getting Bogdanovich some minutes. He's been good off the bench, a solid piece coming over in the trade from Detroit. Alec Burks has been a no-show, but we'll see if he can find a way to turn it around. But with that, we'll close things out here, and we'll have our NBA playoff preview episode next week, which I am extremely excited for, as we're not going to talk about just the New York Knicks. We're going to talk about every single part of the playoffs, including the play-in tournament, which starts early next week. Which
it's on a Tuesday, I believe, is when it starts.
Yeah, I believe. That's when it should be. I think on next Tuesday. So we're getting into that time of the year. The play-in tournament, the playoffs, right around the corner next week. And this episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So the regular season is coming to a close. The playoffs next week, the Knicks will be ready for it. They've clinched a spot. We don't know where they're going to finish yet, depending on when the season ends, but we're going to find out soon. And from here, on Season 2, Episode 9 of Empire State Hoops, I'm Adam Rothschild. That's Matt Vargo. And Gordon Huntley here with us as well today. And we'll see you next week for our playoff preview. Have a good one, everyone.
Peace.
Later, guys.